This podcast contains topics of an adult nature and is not suitable for anyone under 18. Hey everyone, welcome to Unmasking Kink. I'm your host, Nova Monroe. Each week, I'll dive into the questions that you sent in, doing the research and breaking it down into a way that's real, informative, and fun. You can find the podcast on all major podcast platforms. Follow us on social media for extras and updates. Just search for Unmasking Kink or Nova Monroe. You'll find me. Now let's dive in, and together we'll unmask what kink is all about. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another week of Unmasking Kink. As you know, I am your host, Nova Monroe, back for another week of doing this thing that we do. My life this week was pretty interesting. I had several things that were personal responsibilities taking off of my shoulders, which is always wonderful. I am getting closer and closer to finishing my college classes, and that's very exciting for me. Like most of you, I am just trying to get through without losing my ever-loving mind. How do you do that? I don't know. But sometimes I try reading questions on the internet. This week I came across a Reddit thread that asked, when is it the right time to bring up kink while dating? And of course the answers were all over the place, from don't mention it until you are committed to get it out there as soon as possible, which made me laugh because you may or may not imagine this about me, but I am definitely in the second camp over there and have been in that situation. Now, sometimes there's just not a clever way to start that conversation. You just got to go for it. When you're getting to know someone, there's always that moment when you have to decide whether to ask about things that actually matter to you. For me, one of those things is kink, not the performance of it, but the mindset. Now, at some point, you have to figure out whether the person that you are talking to is open-minded and able to communicate honestly. You want to know if they are in the same boat with you, if they are interested in the same things you are interested in. And that's important. I have found that the best way to do that is to just be straightforward. Just ask straight out. Be respectful. Don't have any weird energy in it, but keep it simple. Like, hey, what's your take on kink and BDSM? That's not a come on, and it is not an invitation. This is a conversation starter about values, comfort levels, and communication. And for me, that matters a whole lot more than whether someone else thinks it's too soon to have the conversation. People love to tell you that there is a right way and a wrong way to bring up kink, and that is completely false. There really isn't. There is only the right way for you. You gotta find a way that fits your personality and your intentions. If you're comfortable easing into it, then do that. But if you're like me and prefer to ask directly, that's good too. Being upfront when you're essentially interviewing your dating partner is not rude, it's mature. It tells the other person that the value of communicating is more important than pretending. But if blunt isn't your style, I completely get it. Not everyone can just blurt out what's on their mind. There are easier ways to open that door. One option is maybe reference something that you've seen, maybe a documentary, a podcast, maybe just a scene in a movie. Try something like, wouldn't it be interesting if people talked about this stuff more openly? That wording lets you gauge their comfort without putting them on the spot. If they engage, great. If they change the subject, you know it's uncomfortable for them. You can also use maybe current events or pop culture as an opener. It's a good way to talk about kink-related topics without making it about you. Say something like, What's your take on the news about the furries walking around in the park? Or did you hear about that guy who had to wear the GIMP mask to the movies? Little conversation starters like that give you a chance to gauge their reaction before the topic ever gets personal. If they laugh, ask questions, or show curiosity, that tells you they're comfortable having open discussions. If they cringe, shut down, then that's your sign to steer elsewhere. It's not about tricking anyone. It's about creating a safe opening for honest conversation. When you do want to be direct, text can be easier because you can choose your words more carefully. But in person does give you more information. You can read their body language. But either way, clarity beats guessing. A straightforward question like, how do you feel about kink? Do you see this as something serious or as just for fun? That gets you more honesty than dancing around it. You're not seeking permission and you're not making an offer. You're learning how someone thinks. For me, one of the biggest reasons that I want to get this conversation out as early as possible is because in my future forever relationship, I want a 24/7 power dynamic. I want a real and functional one, and that has almost nothing to do with sex. It's about how two people build life together. A 24/7 power dynamic is about structure, stability, and accountability. It's about who takes care of what chores, who manages the cars, who manages the bills, the appointments, the budget, who keeps things running smoothly at home, and who takes care of the kids and work, or all of the life things. And when something in this stops working, you come back to the table with your partner and you say, okay, this part's not working anymore the way we've been doing it. We need to renegotiate that. And then you sit together and you figure it out. And then you start again. That is what a healthy power exchange looks like to me. It's communication, balance, and teamwork. It's about creating a system where both people know what's expected and they know that they can rely on each other without constant guessing or tension. And that kind of dynamic doesn't happen by accident. It's built through trust, clarity, and respect. That's why I bring it up early when I'm getting to know someone. If they don't understand it, it opens up the door to talk about it. But if they are completely against it, that tells me what I need to know, that we'd be both happier moving on before either of us gets fully invested into something that doesn't fit. For me, it's not about control, and it's not about sex. It's about real life and real relationships that actually function. Now, the hard part is when people misunderstand your intent. I cannot count the amount of times that someone has assumed that talking about kink means that I want to sleep with them. Scorpio was actually one of those that heard the word kink and immediately thought that all I was after was rough sex. This does happen a lot. The assumption that if you bring it up, then you must want to do something with the other person you're talking to. But for me, most of the time, I'm really just trying to have a conversation. Being sex positive doesn't mean being sexual toward everyone. There's a difference between discussing a topic and inviting participation. My response is generally consistent. It's fine, I just don't get flirty about it, is a sentence that does escape my mouth. It's professional, it's firm, it's polite. It did come out pretty handy in a business meeting I had recently. I was chatting with a man about the podcast, and he was very enthusiastic about it. He was very enthusiastic about Unmasking Kink. He had great ideas. He had a great energy, And the conversation was fun, and it was good to be in. But as often happens, the topic started to slide from content to flirting. And he said to me, "You might have to ignore me. I'll drive you nuts with the kink talk." Like I said before, I just said, "It's fine. I just don't get flirty about it." He laughed and said, "I love your composure," which I took as a high compliment. That's exactly the balance I want people to see from me. Approachable and friendly, but clear that I am not there for sex. That's the line I walk, and that's the line I plan to walk as this show grows. Professional confidence means being able to talk about kink like an adult without making it weird. If you're hosting, teaching, writing, anything in this space, you'll face that moment where you have to draw a line. The key is staying calm and consistent. Setting your boundary isn't shutting someone down, it's teaching them how to engage. For me, talking about kink usually isn't about sex at all. I'm building a community where people can be enthusiastic about things that don't always make sense to outsiders. A lot of us love the art and the skill and the camaraderie. We like exploring how trust and creativity come together. Kink is communication in action. Curiosity paired with content. It can involve sex, sure, but for many of us, that's not the main point. But it is also important to remember that for some people, kink is only about in the bedroom. And that's perfectly fine too. Not everybody wants the events, the labels, or the community discussions. Some people just want private moments with their own partner, and that is valid too. There isn't one correct version of kink. We're not all wired the same, and we don't need to be. The goal is a space where we respect one another. I sometimes hear people call kink a spectrum. I think it's more like a prism. You don't really see it until you look through the right lens. And everyone's view is different. What one person sees as art, another sees as intimacy. And someone else just sees their Tuesday night routine. You don't have to agree on what it looks like. You just have to accept that there's more than one angle. So what happens when you ask about kink and the person reacts poorly? If they're confused, you can clarify without apologizing. I'm not flirting. I'm just asking because communication matters to me. That keeps the tone even. If they're defensive or offended, stay polite but firm. It's okay that that's not your thing. I just like to be upfront. If they get hostile, mocking, that's probably not someone you need to be around anyway. But if they're curious and unsure, that's your chance to educate gently. Explain that kink isn't necessarily all about pain or power. It's about trust and awareness. Don't try to sell them. Encourage questions and give them space to think. How someone reacts to a topic tells you a lot about their emotional maturity. People who handle it with curiosity and calm are usually solid communicators in general. People who get defensive and try to shame you often struggle with boundaries everywhere, not only in sex. Asking the question early saves you from finding out the hard way later. There's no wrong way to ask about kink if you're respectful and clear. You don't have to rehearse or wait for a perfect moment. Be honest about your intentions. The goal isn't to shock anyone, it's to open the door to understanding. And if conversations go sideways, you'll still learn some. And if the conversation goes sideways, you still learn something valuable. That's never wasted time. So for anybody nervous about bringing it up, remember this. Asking is not an invitation. It's about communication. You're not demanding acceptance. You're checking compatibility. When someone can handle that conversation with respect, that's someone worth knowing. When they can't, at least you found out early. That's the point. No wrong way, just your way. Ask clearly, listen carefully, and stay grounded. I'm Nova Monroe, and this is Unmasking Kink. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like, follow, and leave a review. It helps others find the show. Got a question or an idea for a future topic? Submit it anytime at unmaskingkink.com. Feel free to share anything you think I missed or add your own take. I want to hear it. I'll be back next week with more curiosity, more conversation, and of course, more Unmasking Kink.